back to the EVLC Podcast. Today we are interviewing Ali Farhat, our Automotive Director at EVLC. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast today.
Thank you, Stephanie and Eli.
We're
Why
happy
don't
to
you
have
start?
you here. We're happy to have you here.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Glad to be here.
Why don't you start off by telling us a little bit about how you started volunteering at EVLC and how you heard of us?
So, take you back to when I started EVLC. I actually met Tom Summers, and he's big with EVLC. I have some Tesla cars that I share. I do car sharing, and then I also do ride sharing. So I was doing ride sharing, and he was one of my guests. He was one of my riders. And I love talking about electric cars. So when he got in the car, he started talking about Teslas, and of course, my eyes lit up. And we had a great discussion about electric cars and Teslas and electrification. And then he told me about EVLC. He said, "Oh, you'd be great. We exchanged numbers, and I actually helped him buy a Tesla. And then he told me about EVLC, and that's pretty much how I got started. And they actually had a bus the yellow bus that we converted it from gasoline to electric. And with my background in automotive, he thought I would do really well. So I was part of that bus build, and it was a lot of fun converting that bus to electric. Very challenging, but very rewarding as well. So that's how I got started.
That's really cool. Why do you volunteer at EVLC?
Why do I volunteer? I think electrification is very important. It's the future of transportation. So we really need people to get excited, and kids to get excited about this future, because it's completely different than an internal combustion engine in terms of the way it's designed, the parts that go in it. It does need less maintenance on the cars, but it still requires people to know how it operates. And that's kind of what we do. We get kids excited about electrification and how electronics work and how they could be implemented in transportation.
Okay. That's really cool.
Yeah, when I was growing up, just a little bit about myself. Hopefully, I don't go too far. Stop me if you need.
Keep going, please.
I was actually born in Detroit area, which was where they built all the cars. It's the automotive. The Motown is what they called it. And my father he worked for Ford on the line. And so I was always everybody I knew worked for the automotive industry in some fashion. And then my father bought a repair facility when I think I was 10 or 12. And so I would go there after school because it was right by my school, and my older brothers would work there, working on cars. And that's how I really got started with cars, learning how to work on them, changing tires, all those things. So I really, cars are in my blood. So when in 2008, I believe, I even step before that, I would go to shows like the auto show that would come into Detroit, and I just loved looking at engines. But I loved looking at them in a way that, how can it be simplified in order to work on them easier? How can they be easier to work on or more efficient? So then in 2008, when somebody told me about this documentary called An Inconvenient Truth, I don't know if you've ever heard of that documentary.
No, I have not.
It was with Al Gore. He was the vice president in the 90s. He made this documentary, and it was about pollution and ways that we can help stop pollution. And one of the ways was driving an electric car. And then my eyes just, my eyes just lit up and I said, oh my gosh, that makes total sense. Because if you have a car that's so efficient, you don't have to change oil. You don't have to, there's like no maintenance on these cars almost. That reduces trash, it reduces waste, the car can drive longer. And so it really changed my thinking about transportation with cars. And so I bought my first electric car in 2012. So I've had electric cars for 12 years now. And I actually still have that original Ford Focus electric. I still drive it. It has 150,000 miles on it. I love it. It's just indestructible. And there's really very little maintenance. So yeah, I just think that's really the way to the future. But we still need people to learn how to work on these vehicles, to repair them, to build them, to everything. And that's where EVLC comes in, because we're hopefully teaching kids and getting them excited about electronics and electrification.
Yes.
What do you like the most about EVLC?
What do I like the most? I think the camaraderie and how everybody works together to solve a problem. Like building the bus, we had Ron was there, and he was instrumental in showing everybody and just working as a team to solve issues. Or we were just at the EV Everything event in Vancouver, and just we all worked together and we all worked as a team, and just seeing the kids' faces as they were building these little miniature cars, remote control cars. And you teach them how, if they hook this battery up and if they switch this on, all of a sudden the car will move. And it's just, yeah, it's sorry, I have a little sweat. It's just exciting to see.
Yeah, like their faces light up when
Yes,
they
yeah,
finally understand something.
exactly. And then they understand it, and they just get so excited, and it makes them want to learn more. It makes them engaged more. It makes them maybe hopefully go home and find a class or find some extra activity that they can do around electronics.
Yeah.
What sparked your interest in EVs?
What sparked my interest in EVs? Well, watching that documentary in 2008 really sparked my interest in electrification, because I knew we needed to pollute less. And that was the way that we were going to do it in terms of transportation. We really needed something that was better in every aspect. So an electric car, it's all torque, which means it's faster than a gasoline engine. So it's more exciting to drive than a gasoline engine. My car, my little Ford Focus that I still have, it drives just like I bought it from brand new. It doesn't wear out like a gasoline engine, because gasoline engines have so many moving parts, and these parts wear out. So it makes the car feel slower and more sluggish. You might have to change your oil or do some transmission work, and that requires a lot of maintenance, which is costly. So if you can avoid that and have this more exciting vehicle that still gets you from point A to point B, but in a better way and more environmentally friendly and a less expensive way, that really, I think, is the key.
Yeah, and like the cars, because it costs like kind of a lot of money just to like pay for gas. And with Teslas, for example, like electric's so much more efficient.
Exactly.
Powerful, more efficient for the planet, and just not destroying. Yeah.
Correct. And you can drive them for a lot longer. There
It has a lot of miles.
Exactly. There are a lot of
You're
exactly right. Teslas, I've known some of them that have over 200, 300,000 miles on them, and they still drive like brand new. My little Ford Focus has 150,000 miles on it, and it's indestructible, and it still goes and goes. I could, let somebody else drive it and experience it, and, then hand it down, and which you can't really do with a gasoline engine. So yeah, you're right.
Yeah, and also it's like it doesn't make a lot of noise.
Correct. Yeah, that's actually I'm glad you brought that up because in one of the reasons why I moved to San Diego from Detroit is I got an infection in 2017. I lost my hearing in one of my ears completely. And so I'm very sensitive to noise. So hearing these gasoline engines go by all the time and revving and all that, that is noise pollution, which is a form of pollution. So if you have this car that's not only more efficient, but it's super quiet and it doesn't disrupt you in a way that gasoline engines do. So yeah, you're absolutely right.
Yeah, because like with like for gas cars, like supercars, for example, I mean they go fast, but they're just super loud, and
Yeah.
some people are like, I don't like gas cars because they're just so uh number one stinky, number two it's expensive, and number three it's loud,
Yeah. However,
especially diesel.
exactly. However, I've learned recently that it is okay to have a gasoline car for performance if you
Yeah.
want to drive it on the, on the test track on the track or something, or there is a place for that, and I appreciate that. Just like horses, you know, we used to ride horse and buggy back in the day, and when we went to internal combustion engines, there's still people that ride their horses, and that's okay. But let that be in a certain place. It shouldn't be for everyday driving. It should be electric. Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, so going back to, you said you did ride sharing?
I do. I actually have three Teslas that I share on an app called Turo. You heard of Turo?
Yes.
And then I also do Uber. I also drive for Uber sometimes, and I have a few people that drive my cars for Uber. Because after I moved here and I bought my first Tesla in 2020 and started sharing it. I thought to myself, wow, this is actually what we really need to do. We need these cars because you can drive for so many miles on electric cars. We need to put as many electric miles on electric cars as we possibly can. That will really help drive down the use of gasoline and help the environment, make it, cleaner for everyone for the future. So with my cars, I want to use them as much as I can and put as many miles as I can on them because that's what's really going to affect the environment.
Yes.
So, and actually now Tesla has something called full self-driving, and I think that's actually the next step. That kind of just like when I saw the documentary Inconvenient Truth, when my eyes lit up about electric cars, the next step is actually autonomous cars, because if the car can go out and drive for you, you can put so many more miles on it if the car's doing all the work. So that's actually the next step. Exactly. So it's very exciting to be a part of that and to experience that.
Totally. Stephanie, why don't we go on the next question?
Yeah, of course. Who has been a positive influence in your life? I know you were talking about your father and your brothers. Is there anyone else who has influenced?
There's I try to learn a little bit from everybody I meet. My father, yeah, my grandfather actually was an engineer at General Motors, so I've always felt I had the engineering mindset like my grandfather. I tried to think like he did sometimes about different projects and different um, questions I had in life. And then a really good friend of mine here, Chris, he really like, just questioning everything and learning as much as you can about whatever it is. And then Tom also from EVLC, just
Abuelo Tom.
exactly, yeah, and Ron as well. Really, when we had the bus build, when we built the bus, just he was so inspiring in bringing us all together and to solve the problems that we had, because we had to finish that bus, I think in 2 weeks, maybe 3.
Yeah.
And so we were working all the time, and just he really inspired us to keep working and to really meet that goal. So yeah.
Yeah, like my dad and I are like teaching classes for everyone else to get into EVs.
Yeah. So I bet that's exciting for you too, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah,
What have you learned?
I've learned a lot because my dad's taught me a lot about like um EVs, how electric cars have worked like over the summer. My dad has me like kind of make some parts for one of my dad's coworkers. My dad even bought me a electrical kit like a couple days ago.
Yeah. And
To have sitting on my counter.
I bet you enjoy sharing those things with other kids to inspire them as well.
Yeah, because the electrical kit is kind of teaches me a lot. Teaches me how kilowatts and watts are, how much energy they produce.
Cool.
Okay. So you mentioned that you grew up in Michigan, right? How did your childhood impact who you are today?
I think living in the Detroit area, a lot of people were really, they worked hard every day, and that really, like my father working every day on the line, or my brothers working at the repair facility that we owned, just really got me to work hard every day, and just to try to find that thing that motivates you to, because it's, not everybody is motivated every day, and I'm not motivated every day. There's some days I don't feel like doing something, but if you look at what you're doing in the future, it makes it a little easier, and you just have to work hard and just keep working hard. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, okay. So Eli, you want to ask the next question?
So, next question is, where did you grow up? Or sorry,
The next one.
yeah. What advice would you want to give to your younger self?
What advice? Believe in yourself a little more, and just go for it. Just, don't be afraid to fail. Failure is definitely an option, and it's okay, but it's taking that failure and learning from it to redeploy it and possibly in a different way. So, I being in the automotive industry, I mean, I wasn't in the automotive industry all my life. I actually was a physical therapist for 11 years. So it wasn't until COVID till I got out of that. But just, it's okay to fail, and failure doesn't mean you failed. It just means there was some issue or a bottleneck that you just have to work around. So if you can
Yeah.
just,
Yeah, because
yeah,
like
go ahead.
failing kind of like teaches you a lesson, it's telling you what to do or what the next thing to do.
Exactly.
So it's teaching you a lesson and going back to the positive, who the positive person in your life is. Going back to there, Marguerite is also a positive because like she's the one like running EVLC and she's working a lot. She's
She's a mother as well. That's very difficult to do all those at once. And yeah, she's very inspirational. And it makes other people want to work hard as well when they see someone that's that um, devoted to everything. It just makes everybody else want to work just as hard. At least for me, I see so much inspiration a lot of people at the EVLC, from the young kids all the way up to the adults.
It's all a big community.
Yeah.
It is. Yeah.
All right. Next question. How are you making a positive impact
How am I
In
making
the
a
world.
positive in the world?
in the world? How are
Well,
you
I
making a
think-
positive impact?
Well, being part of EVLC, I think, helps me make that positive impact because you all are doing such a positive thing in the world with kids and trying to teach people about electricity and electrification. And so I think that really is important to get into electrification and get off of fossil fuels as much as we can, at least for transportation, because, you know, there's so much bad that goes on with oil and the world and trying to dig for oil or mine for oil and you know, the world trying to see, how do I want to word this? There's just so much negative with oil. It such has a bad impact on our existence. Not that we should get rid of it altogether, because of course plastics are made with oils and things like that. So we definitely need it. But for our transportation needs, we definitely can. We have an alternative now that is much better than fossil fuels.
Okay, so we are reaching the end here, but I wanted to ask you one last question. What
Yeah.
inspires you to keep going?
That inspires me to keep going. Me to keep going. I would say just knowing that I am making a positive impact on other people and seeing the teachings, the things that I have to teach other people, and seeing them actually figuring those things out either with me or on their own. You know, like I said, when we had the build with those small little cars that we were doing in Vancouver, just seeing the excitement on the kids' faces is just so inspirational. And that's such a great thing. I love seeing that.
Yeah, it's so rewarding.
It is. It is.
Okay, anything else, Eli, you want to ask or?
Not really. No.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time to be on the podcast today. We really
Thank
enjoyed
you.
the episode.
We're so happy to have you. We were so happy to have you here.
I'm so honored to be part of EVLC. I really am. And I really appreciate all the hard work everybody does in their own way, and the team effort that we all bring. And you guys inspire me very much. And I'm so proud to be part of it.
Yeah, and thank you for doing all the work that you do for EVLC. I know you've done a lot.
Thank you. I feel like it's not enough. I really feel like it's not enough. I try, the best I can. I wish I could do more, and I'm trying. And you guys inspire me to do that every day. So I thank you.